Wednesday night, the legislative sessions ended in Indiana. Well, actually almost into the morning today. And joining us today is State Senator Mark Messmer of District 48. He's made the trip to be able to make us, I guess you just got done last night. What time did you get done last night?
Well, we got done at midnight.
At midnight, okay.
And we ran out of time, to get everything done. And by the time everybody says their goodbyes and gets out of there, and I got home, it was after 1 until I got home. So I was going to drive home. Originally, I planned on driving home yesterday when we were done.
Right.
Well, I forgot that and drove home this morning. So,
well, we are going to talk to the senator in two programs, tonight's program and tomorrow's program. And in tonight's program, we're going to talk about some of the big items that were passed by the legislation. Tomorrow night, we're going to focus more on bills that you had a hand in or you wrote yourself.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I think everybody's going to remember this legislative session as, for one thing, Sunday alcohol sales.
Sunday alcohol sales. If there's, and that, was it probably the most important thing we did? No, but it's the most memorable thing that we did.
That's right.
Just because for, since Prohibition days, we've not been able to have alcohol sold on a Sunday. So at the retail level, I mean, you could at a restaurant, but no carry out of alcohol till, and that took effect on March 4th, I believe.
Okay. I think a lot of people didn't really, they were, well, why did it take so long? What was the big deal? What was the holdup? But I think they didn't understand the difference between a liquor store and a big box store and what they can and cannot sell.
Yeah, a lot of different sets of rules for those two. I mean, they both sell alcohol, and if you have a pharmacy in a store, you can have hard liquor and beer and wine. In a retail store, and that's not even been that long that the pharmacies used their, because in pharmaceutical medications there are alcohol, products in some of them, and so they've used that as their loophole to get hard liquor in liquor stores. We've never passed a law that says they can do it. They've just created a loophole to do it. There's competing interests from the package stores and traffic patterns of consumers on weekends, and so the retail, grocery outlets. I mean, they're the ones who had been pushing for the Sunday sale because that's when they have a big chunk of their customers there. Mm-hmm. I understand that, but the package stores were always hesitant to let that switch happen just for fear that they're going to have more time with an employee there on a Sunday, and probably at the end of the day may not see any additional sales, and so it's a drag on their business expenses and their business, and would probably just cause some shifting of where that sale occurs. So that was the holdup this year. Those two groups finally agreed to just put the issue behind them and move on. There's a lot of consumer interest in that issue.
And cold beer sales played some part in that as well.
Cold beer was a separate issue, and that did not get pulled into it didn't even get a hearing this year. And there's another interim study committee going to happen this summer on alcohol issues, and I'm sure I would assume that'll be part of the discussion then. But I think most of the discussions this year in study committee on that will be at the wholesale level. There's a lot of rules on, probably more rules on the people who wholesale it and manufacture it than there are at the people that retail it. And really the only, the big differentiator for them was, Sunday or not at the retail side. But at the wholesale and manufacturing level, there's mounds and mounds of rules that'll be the primary focus this year is can we streamline some of that part of our code as well.
Now, there were big bills that were passed. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of those that you wanted to highlight.
Well, another one that got a lot of interest from folks here at home was Senate Bill 52, the legalizing the sale of and manufacture of CBD oil. We made it a broader description of hemp extract oil, which CBD oil is one of the hemp extract products. And as long as it's below 0.3%, by weight of THC, for about 40 years, that's been the level that's been determined to be. You can't get the effects of marijuana, from a concentration level that's that low. Okay. And that's what the federal government came out in 2014 in the Farm Bill and said you can manufacture and sell, hemp extract products, hemp fiber, as long as the THC content is 0.3% or less. And that was basically, getting the the agreement on whether to allow manufacturing or not, what requirements they had to do for labeling of the packaging, and they're going to give the retailers that have bought some in the past, we'll give them till July 1st till they change the packaging requirements, so that they have some in their inventory that doesn't maybe have the disclaimers that this is 0.3% or less. It'll allow them to clear their inventories of maybe what they've got on the shelves, and then after July 1 they'll be a little bit more restrictive notice that has to be on the packaging, and there's policies in there for how the state excise police will monitor and test at the retail level. If somebody's caught selling stuff with higher THC levels than that, they'll end up losing their retail license. So a vested interest to abide by the rules.
Now, there was a law that was passed having to do with tracking of opioid through the doctors.
Senate Bill 221 was a tightening up of, and currently when you buy pseudoephedrine products, you go to the store and they scan your driver's license, they scan the product in, and instantly, throughout, the entire, retail system, they know exactly how much of a Sudafed type product you've bought, the minute you buy it, and how much you bought that year and how much you bought that month. And the inspect program on the opioids will require doctors, anytime you get a prescription written by a doctor, he has to log that into the inspect system. So you can't have 10 different doctors you're getting the same prescription from.
Doctor shopping, so
Doctor shopping, yep. So that was a big component. So we look at it as tightening up supply. So Senate Bill 221 is going to require that all doctors participate in that. More funding for regional treatment centers. We've allowed the state hospital system to set up 9 treatment centers around the state, to where anybody with an opioid addiction problem, the goal is within an hour, so everybody in the state will live within an hour of one of these regional hospitals for opioid treatment. So tighten up supply, helping get people who are addicted, off the drug, and then ratcheted up penalties for people who are caught trafficking in opioids, enhancing the penalties for people who are selling the drugs illegally.
Okay.
So it's a 3-pronged approach, and each one of those measures moved a little farther along this year.
Okay. And the alcohol sales, that bill's already been signed by the governor.
Yep.
And the oil, has that been signed?
That just got passed yesterday.
Okay,
so he'll,
okay.
but he was in full collaboration with the final wording of the final bill draft. When you get down to this part of the session and there's tough negotiations going on, the governor's policy people will work hand in hand with the House and Senate, conference committee folks, to make sure we get in a spot that it's going to get to his desk next week and sign it, because that's usually not it's not very common for bills to get vetoed, but I've not had one vetoed yet. I
never know.
Never know.
Okay.
But they did work closely to make sure that didn't happen.
And then the opioid, is that into law yet?
Those I didn't check, but all of those will get signed. I think most of those should have been to his desk, probably a week or two ago already. Because as bills have passed both chambers, they go straight on. I think he started signing bills on March 6th, and probably even before that with Senate Bill 1. That was probably the week before. I think he did that probably the first day or two, maybe like on March 1st.
Okay.
So, but he's already been signing them. Those will all get signed. Those passed long enough ago that they're probably on his desk now.
Okay. And then other bills that you thought were of significance this year that
really a significant issue we dealt with. A lot of them were in the education arena. We had House Bill 1001. There was a Senate bill that was the same content, but it's going to give extra funding for schools that had additional people show up. I think there was about, maybe was there 2,300 kids that showed up that nobody expected this year, and so everybody's going to get the dollars per kid for those
Because
students.
that's already been assigned, how much money you get.
Yeah,
But
'cause
now,
that-
if you have 300 more kids show up at your school, you're going to need more money.
Yes.
You can't. Okay.
Yeah, because normally the superintendents turn in their expected count in the spring that we do the budgeting for, and then when the actual counts come in, based on what everybody thought they were going to have, we had several thousand more show up, which is a good thing. And they haven't really probed into where those extra kids came from yet. I think they're trying to dig into the, were they people who moved here from out of state? Were they
Maybe
charter school? Were they private school kids who went back to public school? But the public school system saw a big influx of new kids this year. So that bill was to fund all of those extra kids to make sure everybody got financially taken care of. It costs money to educate them, and so that was pretty important. And then another one we had was a single diploma, one high school diploma with extra stars that you can get for AP classes, for honors, for career tech education, Core 40. There's other things you can get that are extra achievements, but one diploma system. And we needed to do that because the federal government said you can't have 4 diplomas. The ones that are, and if kids were on waivers before because they couldn't pass the Algebra 2, which Mel Mankey told me 13, 14 years ago when that mandate started getting put into place, he said, you watch, that's going to be a problem. And statewide it's been a big problem. So the general diploma does not have the requirement for Algebra 2 in it. It still has math requirements, but they can be math that's specific to career choices that fit you better. So that got done. That's very important. House Bill 1002 and Senate Bill 50 were setting up the new career tech education alignment. We're going to have a separate department that's going to be the career tech education cabinet level position, and then all of the reorganization of how those career tech education counselors are going to be assigned to schools, how that money will flow to the schools. It's not going to be part of, right now it's part of Department of Workforce Development, part of Department of Education, and part of it under Commission for Higher Education, all being pulled under one umbrella with a new board that handles all of those duties.
Okay.
So good to get that one passed. Gosh, quickly glance at my notes here.
Sure.
Oh,
Because there's a lot of bills that are passed.
Yes, and helping address teacher shortages. A bill that's going to help get people that maybe have professional backgrounds that aren't education, to let them get, into the school system and then get the additional training, kind of an apprenticeship time period, a 4-year window for them to get all their certifications done. But right now we have about 3,000 full-time aides, or people that are just you could have a high school diploma and be a teacher sub. Okay. We have 3,000 full-time subs who may or may not have the education requirements that we need, but this allows us to get people with specialty training. I guess the comment was Bill Gates couldn't teach computer science in high school in Indiana.
But now he can.
But now he can.
Okay.
So we can talk about my bills at the next one and some of the things that didn't pass, some of the last minute drama.
Maybe some of the clog up from last night. Well, Senator, thank you very much
You're
for
very
coming
welcome.
in.
My pleasure.
Now join us again tomorrow night as State Senator Mark Messmer will be joining us again here on 18 WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.